Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Sam from Net Registry and I'll be conducting the webinar on search engine optimization for micro businesses. Before I start the webinar, I just would like to do a quick mic test to make sure that my voice is loud and clear. Just want to check out whether can everyone listen to me. Is my sound clear? Okay, great. I guess this webinar is again a series of webinars that we've been doing for the last couple of months. The objective of these webinars is more to help you understand what are the things you need to do, what's changing in the online marketing space, and so on. The same thing with today's webinar. What we're going to do is focus on search engine optimization is in terms of exactly what you need to do. Now, it's quite difficult to teach you how to do SEO in 1 hour, but at least I'll try to address some of the things which would be required for most people to do when you plan to do your own search engine optimization. I guess one of you can't listen to me, and that's Rosie, but looks like the others are able to listening to my voice. So before I start the presentation, I would just like to have an understanding about where each one of you all are in terms of your optimization. So I'll just throw in a quick question to understand where each one is at and what you have been doing at the moment. So are you still getting an echo, Anthony? Okay, just give me 1 minute. That's quite strange. Some people can listen to me, some cannot. Okay. Anyway, just moving forward. So, by the looks of it, a lot of you guys are actually doing SEO on your own. That's pretty good. Okay, in the next 60 minutes, we're going to cover a couple of things. One is exactly what's happening in terms of online marketing. What is important for your business. The next thing we're going to look at how do you plan your SEO strategy. Now, a lot of times you want to do SEO, but you have no clue whether is there a market for it or not. The other thing to look at is in terms of what should be the SEO process. One of the biggest challenges with optimization is trying to understand what you should do for your website. There's a lot of information on the web, and it could quite get confusing. The biggest challenge in doing optimization is not how to make those changes, is first to find out what actually works and what doesn't work. And I think lastly, just to look at why do some companies outsource it, and why you should look at that option, whether it's worthwhile for you or not. If you have any questions with regards to what I'm talking about, you can always either shoot me a request, or I can do it after the presentation. So let's get started. Okay, one of the things is that the way we use internet has changed a lot. Nowadays we don't talk about saying that we have to go online. We are practically online all the time. When we are in front of a desk, we are connected to a computer. The moment we step away from the desk, we are connected on a mobile device. And a lot of people today try to continue using their online research or buying process from the phone onto to the mobile device as such. So you might start working on a computer and then realize you have to step out of your office. So you might still continue doing your research while you are, either heading to a different meeting or whatever it is. So we practically are online. Now, one of the benefits of being online is that if you need any information, nowadays you don't need to go and call up someone. You might as well can do your own research. The other thing what has happened is that in the last 5 years, people or most people have understood how to use the internet better. The way you search on Google today is much different than what used to happen maybe 3-4 years back. We know how to use the Google search engine. We know how to filter for what kind of results we want. We've changed the way we research. We've gone away from just simply doing text-based searches. Now we do searches based on video, search on social media, and so on. Not only that, what also has happened is from a business point of view, the traditional shopping experience used to be in the past, you see an ad, or you receive a mailer in your mailbox, you're more likely to look at the catalog than either to call up the telephone number or visit a store. When you visit a store, you consult with a salesperson and then take the necessary action. Okay, which was quite simple and easy to do. There's not much of issues with that. However, thanks to the online boom, the whole thing has changed. So now with the way search engine optimization, social media is actually adding more and more steps to your buying process, the whole new buying process become extremely complex. Nowadays, when we want to shop something, we tend to look at different kind of reviews, or we tend to go into things like social media or Facebook or Twitter and ask people, what should I do? So this is where the whole challenge starts for a small micro business. If you're a micro business and you do not have additional resources to do your online marketing, you tend to struggle. And this is what happens with most businesses. I've been talking to small businesses for quite some time. What I've realized is that most businesses are quite passionate and are very keen to do their SEO. They start doing a lot of activity on month 1, month 2, and then it just dies off. Unfortunately, if you're planning to do your own search engine optimization, you got to understand that it's an ongoing process. There's nothing as saying that you have optimized your website and you don't need to worry about it. It's a process which keeps on changing. Google keeps on changing its algorithm, so what works today may not work 6 months from now, and so on. And not only that, the way people shop has changed a lot. So whether you like it or not, unfortunately, you're going to get pulled into things like social media. Okay, social media may not give you new business, but it is going to help someone take a decision. So though search engine optimization has been there for the last 10 years, all of a sudden you can't just survive just doing search engine optimization. You need to do a combination of search engine optimization, social media, conversion rate optimization, and maybe a bit of Google AdWords and so on. So there's a lot that's happening in the online space. And unlike a retail business, where if you open up a retail store in a certain suburb, your competition is stuck to that suburb or at the most to that specific city. Unfortunately, online the competition is 100 times more, because once you go online, your competition is not just local, it's across the country or globally. And I think that's where the challenge is. There is a market out there, and the first page of Google or whatever we say is getting quite busy. One of the other challenges that most businesses tend to do is that when you set up a website, you always think about what you want to tell customers. Okay, you need to understand that if a customer is going to react to your website, you need to make sure that you're making them feel comfortable. You have the right solution for them. It's not about what you want to tell them. It's about what the customers want. So especially when the information that you put on your homepage, it's not about what you do the best, or it's just not about how big you are. It's all about do you have the right solution? Okay, why should someone consider you? What's the next step? And for the last couple of years, I've seen the way small businesses have changed. 2-3 years back, when I used to speak to small businesses, everyone wanted to be on the first page of Google. Okay, now the problem is, even if you're on the first page of Google, you're not converting. You're not getting your conversion. Whatever you do, whether you do SEO, you do social media, you do Google AdWords, all of that will only get people to your doorsteps. Nothing beyond that. So what's important is, not only you should be looking at doing your SEO, but also look at how user-friendly is your website. Will your website convert for you, and so on. And this is where the problem is. The last event that I went to, which was the internet conference in Gold Coast, most businesses were talking about, I've done SEO, I've done AdWords, I'm doing social media, but why am I not selling? And this is what most businesses do. Everyone spends so much of time and effort just thinking about how do I come on the first page of Google, or where do I spend my money on Google AdWords, or how do I, what should I put on my social media page, and so on. But we fail to really look into what should we do when someone clicks on my ad or on a result come to my website. Okay, very few businesses or very few websites actually, look at where are they losing out on customers. So it's really important not just driving people to your website, but make sure that they stay on your website and take the next step. It's no point being on the first page of Google if your website doesn't convert. And that's the second thing. When you're looking at your information, or when you're looking at your website, you need to not only measure based on how many people come to your website. You got to find out, take something like Google Analytics. It'll actually give you a good understanding about what's happening on your website. If you want to fix your website, you got to find out exactly what's going wrong on your website. You need to find out where people are dropping off from your website. You got to set up goals on your website using Google Analytics, which will help you understand how many people came to your home page and reached your contact us page, or how many people came to your website, started a shopping experience, how many people completed the transaction. If you've installed Google Analytics properly, you can track every visitor who comes in and what was the final outcome. And again, as most of you all in this room are doing your SEO on your own, you have to have a good understanding about Google Analytics, because that will tell you what part of your website is working, what is not working. Okay. One of the other challenges for most businesses today is moving to the mobile platform. Okay, not maybe less than 10% of websites today are optimized, but a much lesser percentage of them are actually mobile friendly. You have to understand that customers, your potential customers, could be using different kind of devices. And frankly speaking, today the amount of smartphones that are being used by customers is increasing on a regular basis. And we've just moved away from only just sending emails and SMS using a phone to practically doing everything from Facebook to doing our searches on a mobile device, and so on, watching videos and so on. So there's a big shift in terms of how how people are accessing your website. Again, that's something which something like Google Analytics can help you. Google Analytics can help you understand exactly how many people come to your website using a mobile device. If you feel that there are a lot of people coming to your website through a mobile device, then is your website mobile friendly? I'm not saying you need to have a mobile website, but at least can someone easily navigate through your website on a mobile device? For instance, if your menu tabs are pretty small, it's really frustrating when someone wants to go to a specific page on your website, and every time they try to go to that page, they click on the next page next to it and they land somewhere totally different. So whatever your search engine optimization strategy is, you also need to look at what kind of devices do people use to come to your website. Okay, if you're selling a specific product or services, what percentage of people actually use these devices to search for those stuff? So and what's really interesting is that one of the things that is coming out of the mobile stats is that people who are looking out for local services are more likely to search for that on a mobile device. Okay, so and they tend to take a reaction immediately. So one of the things of your search engine optimization strategy should to be to look at, is your website mobile friendly? Is it easy for someone to contact you through your website using a mobile device? The other thing to look at, and most importantly, is to understand exactly, what are your customers looking out for. When someone comes to your website, whether they come because of a search result or a paid ad or whatever it is, they are going to look out for three things. One is, are you the right solution for them? So if they've searched for something very specific, the page that they land on should address that issue. Okay, no one is going to take additional time out to navigate through your website to find what you do. So when you do your strategy on SEO, your keyword research is one of the most fundamental things that you need to do. If you don't get that right, your entire SEO is a waste of time. Okay. Secondly, when someone comes to your website, you've got a window of 5 or 6 seconds. Within that time, you need to tell people who you are, what you do, and what's the next step. Because if you don't do that, then they're simply going to hit the back button and go somewhere else. I mean, how many times you've gone to a website and within 3 or 4 seconds, you just made up your mind that that's not the right place and you've gone somewhere else. One of the other challenges, before you really get into SEO is trying to understand, which is the right platform for you. Now, SEO is good, okay, but it all depends upon the kind of business you're into. The problem with search engine optimization or SEO is that it's an extremely time-consuming process. You start doing your optimization today, you will take a couple of months, depending upon the industry, depending upon the level of competition for the keywords you've selected. It could take you anything from 4 to 12 months to see some decent results. Okay, if you're carrying a specific product or if your business is seasonal, okay, you can't start doing SEO now so that you could see benefits, maybe the next 2 months and so on. Okay, so one of the most important things is, is to reassure that, is SEO a good strategy for you, or is Google AdWords is good, or is social media is good. A lot of businesses today have jumped onto social media, not understanding exactly how to use it. Okay, there's a common assumption in the market which says that social media is free, but the fact is, social media is actually more expensive than even doing SEO or AdWords. Social media involves your time. You need to spend a lot of time yourself on those platforms. The question you got to ask yourself is, one is you cannot really outsource social media completely. Secondly, how much is, 1 hour of your time worth for your business? If you're doing multitasking, believe me, you can't really do that and be on social media, every day. And again, social media is something that is all about things happening right now. If someone goes and talks bad about your business, you need to be there to react to it. And that's the problem with social media. You can't just feel like doing social media as and when you like it. What's interesting is to look at, where do most businesses get their traffic from? So even in the year 2012, you'll see that SEO still, plays a major part of most businesses. So social media is picking up, but it's quite far away from what social SEO does. Okay. At the same time, pay-per-click, that is Google AdWords, is slowly losing its market share. That's not because AdWords doesn't work. It's because either businesses are not doing Google AdWords properly, or the way they measure the ROI for AdWords is incorrect. A lot of times I've seen businesses doing Google AdWords for 2 or 3 months and then taking a decision saying it's not profitable. You got to understand, PPC is just like any other marketing activity. Some businesses will get their return of investment in the first transaction. Some businesses need to look at has a long-term strategy or has a life cycle of a customer. For instance, companies like us, like Net Registry, we spend a lot of money on Google AdWords to acquire a customer. And we don't look at the return of investment at the initial transaction. We look at how long the customer stays with us, and putting all those factors together, we find it's profitable. Okay. See, all these different forms of marketing, they all have their own advantage and disadvantages. It depends upon, where do you want to go, how much of time you have in hand, and how important is your website to your business. If your website is your only sales resource for your business, then you got to make sure that you're not implementing one of them, but you're trying to implement most of these different strategies. A lot of people have done SEO and they stopped. The problem with whether you stop SEO AdWords is that, the moment you stop doing any of these online marketing activities, you only go backwards. The reason why for that is mainly because there are other people within your industry who are optimizing on a daily basis the way you used to. The moment you stop doing it, automatically you start going down the ladder. So before you even plan on, doing a SEO strategy, you got to ask yourself a couple of questions. You got to ask, do you have a unique selling point for your business? Okay, what are the 3 reasons why someone will do business with you? Okay, if you know what your unique selling point is that visible for someone who comes to your website straight away, or they need to spend 10 minutes to understand what you specialize in or why they should do business with you? The next thing, most importantly, is to understand, what your customer really requires. It's not about what you want to sell. It's about what most of your customers are looking out for. Okay, most people do not like to be sold into something. They like it when someone offers them a solution. So when someone comes to your website, you got to give them an option where they say, okay, that's a solution for what I want. That's perfect. Okay. The other thing also is important is, for some businesses, unfortunately, if you got a product or a concept which is fairly new, no one is aware about, or no one knows that it exists, it's going to be a challenge because, if no one is searching for it, how are you going to optimize your website? So you first need to find out exactly, is there a large volume of people going onto the internet or going onto Google and searching for services that you offer? It's very unlikely that, no one is searching for the service you provide. But then sometimes you might provide a service where people don't actually search for, or they might be searching for something which you're not aware of. Okay. Also, before you start your SEO strategy, you got to first understand where do you stand, how difficult is your industry. For example, if you're into mortgage, it's a very difficult industry because you're competing with the large banks. These banks would have, the big 4 banks would have a fabulous marketing team to make sure that their online marketing is right on top. So would 10 hours of your work compete to 5 people working for a bank on online marketing? So it's always important to find out what's realistic, is it achievable? Sometimes you might have a niche advantage, or maybe it's not advisable to go after the entire everyone. Find something that you feel that is money for you and you can actually convert better. And that comes to the next point of, will your website really convert? Imagine, you spend 12 months doing your SEO, you're on the first page of Google, and still no one buys from you or contacts you. So before you go onto your SEO journey, you got to first understand that if people start coming to your website, will they contact you or will they buy from you? If you do not fix that problem initially, your entire SEO is a waste of time. Okay, so you got to make sure that you've got a website usability test done on your website to find out how many steps does it take for someone to contact you. Is your website social? Is it easily shareable with someone? Is it easy to contact you, to send you an inquiry form? And all this stuff. And also, a good thing to look at SEO strategy is to find out, what's the level of competition you have online. Okay. You have to understand, unfortunately, just like you in your industry, there could be another 800 or 1,000 websites trying to go after the same customers you're trying to go after. So if the market is really tough, then SEO could not be should not be the only option, because you will spend a lot of time doing it and nothing happens. So once you've decided that, okay, you want to do SEO, the next step is setting up the right stuff to measure your SEO. Any kind of marketing activity, you need to be able to measure it. Otherwise, you'll not know what works, what doesn't work. So some of the most common things you would do with setting up SEO is set up Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics is really important because it tells you exactly what customers are doing on your website or where are they leaving from. Now, if you want to go beyond Google Analytics, the next thing to look at maybe is to look at heat maps to find out exactly what people are doing on your website. There are a couple of interesting softwares in the market which allow you to basically find out what part of your website your customers are actually looking at. So what's the most visible part on your website? Which button of your website is something which people click on? Okay, and so on. So, but if you do not spend time looking into your Google Analytics or looking at what's happening on your website, you'll have no clue what to fix and what doesn't work. The next thing to do is to look at Google Webmaster Tools. Now, Google Webmaster Tools will give you a bit more information than what Google Analytics does. Google Webmaster Tools will help you find out where do you stand on search engines, which keywords drive traffic to your website and how many people actually click on it. How many impressions are you getting on Google, and so on. So it gives you a list of information about how many inbound links you have acquired and everything. So I'm sorry, Anthony is still having an echo. Are a lot of others having echo or just Anthony? Okay, I'll just try to reduce the sensitivity of my mic. Okay, Anthony, is it any better now or it's still the same? Okay. So what you got to do is you got to look at setting up your Webmaster Tools. You got to look at the next thing that is really getting important is Google Plus. I will talk about Google Plus as you move forward, but all these tools that I'm talking about is practically free. You don't have to pay for any one of them. It's a matter of just setting up one Gmail account, and then it gives you access to all these tools. I think, Gary, that's a good suggestion. Maybe that's what is happening to Anthony. Yeah, sorry. So getting back to the presentation. So Google Plus is getting more and more popular, mainly because Google Plus is Google's answer to Facebook. And believe me, Google is going to go way out to give importance to Google Plus. The same thing with Google Places. It's free of cost. And if you have a local business, you should list your website on Google Places. And while you're doing this setup, a good thing to do is, even if you're not ready for social media, you have to go and claim your Twitter name, your YouTube name, and so on. So once you're ready for social media, you know exactly what you're going after. So whether it's your Facebook page for your business, your Twitter account, your YouTube account, and so on. Now, once you set up this your analytics, you also need to go to the next level and set up the actual objectives that you want to do. One of the most fundamental things about your SEO program is trying to find out the right kind of keywords. Now, there's a lot of information on the web which talks about how to pick up your keywords and so on. But what you got to understand is that there are keywords which there are a lot of searches happening, but if there's a lot of searches happening at the same time, there would be a lot of people trying to target those keywords. So there's always, you got to maintain a balance about which should be a keyword strategy. When someone goes onto the internet, they normally go to three different stages. The first stage is when they start doing their research. So if you're providing a service where you need to convince people that you've got a good solution, a research stage is a good way to gain, educate your customers and gain trust. The next stage is where someone goes into comparison and looks at, which service provider should I go with. The third stage is what we call as a transactional stage, where someone is about to make a decision and they look at factors that can help them to make the purchase. It could be free shipping, it could be special promotions or whatever it is. So depending upon the kind of industry you're into, you got to make sure that you're doing the right kind of keyword strategy. There's also a talk about what we call as long tail keywords. Now long tail keywords are keywords which are something that you normally won't think about, but the number of searches that happen on long tail keywords are less, but they're more qualified. And it just shows that when someone is on the internet, they keep on changing the keywords they search for. As you get closer to what you want, your search query on Google becomes really long, or you look for something very specific, and that's where you start looking at long tail keywords. So when you do your keyword strategy, you got to find out, just not go after the most popular keywords. Okay, do your research on keyword tools. Now some of the good tools to look at is Google AdWords. It's a great way to find out what works, what doesn't work. I tell a lot of businesses that even if you do not have money for Google AdWords, at least run Google AdWords for maybe a period of 1 month. Okay, what Google AdWords allows you to do is test the market for you, and most importantly, it's a good way to find out that tomorrow, if you have picked up, let's say if you picked up a list of keywords and you worked on an SEO program to come on the first page of Google, you would like to know that if you come on the first page of Google for a specific keyword and people click on your link, what will be the user experience and what will be a conversion rate. So maybe using Google AdWords for a couple of weeks will help you drive those people to your website for those keywords and help you understand that will you convert or not. So it's a very good testing tool. It may not be a long-term solution, but it could be a good tool to understand, is there a market for what you do? If you come in front of your potential customers, will they engage on your website and will they buy from you? Google AdWords tool is free for keyword research. You can do your research, find out how many people are searching for a specific keyword and so on. However, what you need to understand that information is coming up as Google's AdWords database. So it's more driven by, the number of ads that have been clicked on and so on. The next thing you look at would be things like Word Tracker. Now Word Tracker is a paid subscription, but it gives you more information. It tells you what keywords are searched for. It helps you to find out which are the long tail keywords. It helps you to understand what is the kind of competition you have for a specific keyword. Similar the case with keyword discovery, SEM rush. Okay. Google Insights gives you a bit of bit more information than Google AdWords. It shows you the trends, because sometimes certain keywords are seasonal. Like for example, right now no one would be searching for Christmas hampers. Okay, so if you got a business and you want to know what is your seasonal traffic, what keywords you need to target, then Google Insights will help you understand what should be what kind of keywords you got to go after. In this short presentation, I might stress a bit more about keywords because it's really the most basic thing in your SEO program. Apart from everything else you do, it's really critical. Now, so when you pick up keywords, you got to pick up as a combination of a couple of things. One is, what's the high volume keywords? The next thing is, sometimes it's good to go after keywords where there is low competition. At least you'll rank quickly on Google. And then to look at which keywords will actually convert better for you. So ideally speaking, your keyword collection should be a combination, of these three factors. And the problem with doing that combination is a lot of times we tend to do a bit of a guesswork. So Especially when you're looking at high volume keywords, it's easy to find out from Google AdWords. But when you look at low competition or high value this thing, we tend to basically decide on and we assume things. So rather than assuming things, a good thing to do is find information from your existing Google Analytics data if your website has been there for quite some time, or look at some of the other tools that are paid tools like SEM, Rush, and so on. That'll help you understand what you should go after. I mean, some of these tools are really good. They not only tell you about your website, they allow you to look into your competition's website and find out what keywords they are targeting, what keywords are they running on Google AdWords. So it's a good way to find out what has worked for your competition will definitely work for you because they're spending money on it. So sometimes you can even get information about which AdWords keywords work fine without even spending money on AdWords. All you need is have access to some of these tools. Am I getting too technical or I'm still okay? I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Let me know if I start going a bit technical or too confusing. Okay, so as I said, Google AdWords is free. Okay, it'll give you an indication about what you should go after. Okay, so make sure that when you do your Google AdWords research, don't go for broad matches. Make sure you go for exact matches. Try to understand exactly what is important to you. Okay, you have to understand that today your competition online is just a click away. So if you're not driving the right kind of people or you're not giving the right kind of information, it'll take just a second for someone to move away from your website. So you might take a lot of pain people coming to your website. The last thing you want to do is for them to move away from it. So as I mentioned earlier, you should subscribe to Google Webmasters. It's again for free. It gives you a lot of information. It tells you that for which keywords you're ranking high at the moment, and because of those rankings, how many times Google has actually displayed your listing, and out of the times Google has displayed your listing, how many times people have clicked on your listing. Because there's still a good percentage of people who tend to go beyond the first page of Google. So there is still merit in being, if not on the first page, being on the second page. So it's not that if you're not on the first page, you're not going to make any money. So it all depends upon the kind of information you put on your website end of the day. You got to understand that Google's job is not there to promote your business. It's all about user experience. So that means Google wants to make sure that when someone searches for something, clicks on a result, the user experience is ideal. The other thing that is also picking up is that nowadays a lot of these other factors like having a blog, having videos on your website, okay, is helping you rank higher on Google. The reason being is because I think we are getting extremely lazy. We don't want to read information, we want to watch information. So that's why nowadays a lot of businesses are actually having YouTube channels. It's a good way to maybe provide support. Imagine if you're selling a mobile device. Okay, if you're selling iPhones, the most common video searched on YouTube for iPhones is how to insert your SIM card, and the second thing is how to set up your iTunes and sync your iTunes with your computer. Now, rather than actually reading through books and manuals, you go and watch a couple of videos, and that'll make your job much more easier. Okay, so having videos on your website not only helps you for getting a sale, it also helps you to reduce the number of support calls you can get. Okay, so basically with videos, Google likes to provide videos because Google feels that could give a better explanation to someone else. So if you've not had videos on your website, I think it's time to look at having videos. Now, frankly speaking, thanks to technologies that are available right now, you can basically shoot videos with any device, even on an iPhone, as far as you've got the right lighting and so on. So make sure that you've got videos on your website. It's going to help you into your search engine optimization process. See, the problem with search engine optimization is that there are so many different factors that are involved. You may not be able to do all of them, but as far as you can do some of them, it's going to give you some kind of progress. So when you look at search engine optimization, there are a couple of factors to look at, So you literally would start at the bottom of this stuff. So the most important thing is to understand things like, okay, do you have the right kind of information? The content on your website, does it appeal to your customers? Most businesses, that get a website designed, they spend so much of time talking to the web designer, graphic designer to get the right look and feel, and they fail to really work on the content on their website. Okay, it's not the design that's going to get you business, it's the information that reflects on that design that makes a difference. So you might be good in what you do, but if you're not good in expressing yourself, my recommendation is get a professional copywriter to at least write a couple of pages of your website, because you got to speak to your customers in a specific language that they understand. If you do not address that problem, okay, they're not going to listen to you. And this is the biggest challenge with if you have an e-commerce store. 90% of e-commerce stores, they start from selling page one. From page one, you expect people to buy. So most e-commerce stores are like a shopping cart or a shop, like Kohl's or Woolies, where you walk into the shop, the first thing you do is you take a shopping trolley. Unfortunately, not every one of us are selling groceries online. So if someone needs to start a shopping experience with your website, you need to gain their trust. You got to tell them why they should buy from you, what makes you stand aside. Okay, that's how you improve your e-commerce conversions and so on. So understand exactly, and there's a lot of other factors you got to look at. Do you have the right kind of domain strategy? Have you picked up the right kind of domain name? Does the domain name tell people what you do? Because unfortunately, even now, a lot of people, if you give them a website address, they still go to Google and type in your domain name. They will not go to the address bar on top and type the entire domain name. So imagine if someone types in your domain name on a Google search and someone else in your industry has a better optimized website. You're more likely to lose that customer just because your website was not optimized and your domain name was not really reflecting what you do. I'm not saying it's the most important factor, but it actually adds a lot of value to what you do. So if I'm a wedding celebrant and I'm based in Sydney, if I tell someone my website is weddingcelebrantSydney.com.au, it tells it all. So it's really important to look at your domain strategy. The next thing to look at is protecting your brand online. Now most of you would have bought a single domain extension. Okay, it's really important to make sure that you own the most other common extensions. Like if you own the .com.au, make sure you have the .com. Make sure you have the .net.au and the .net. There are 600 different domain extensions, but there are only 4 or 5 of them which are extremely popular. The last thing you want to do is someone actually trying to go to your website and there's another website or a competition which has a .net.au, .com, and the client lands up out there. Okay. The next thing to look at is we talked about is keyword, looking at keyword strategy. It's really important. You don't get it right, you literally are going to have a big issue because you will be going after the wrong kind of people. You'll not get conversions, and the amount of time that you spend, is a total waste of time because if you don't get that right, if you don't get a keyword strategy right and you don't have the right kind of content, no one is going to buy from you. So the whole time that you spend doing or everything else around social media or whatever you're doing is going to be a total waste of time. So when you look at search engine optimization, unfortunately I've got only 60 minutes. I can't explain to you the whole thing about SEO, but these are some of the things that you got to look at. Now once the webinar is over, if you want a copy of the presentation, I'm happy to email it across to you. What you should do is maybe have a look at this slide and look at the things that you do and you don't do, because all this is really important for your business. And as I said, don't get too hassled with saying that you can't do all of them. That's fine, as far as you understand what is important and what adds value to your business. So it's great to have a social media strategy, but believe me, social media is not about getting new business. Okay, social media is all about understanding its customer service. Okay, I guess at the end of the slide, I do have my email address, so which you can just request me for the presentation. Yeah. So social media is important, but you got to understand social media. I ask a lot of people, are you active on social media? The answer I get, yes. The next thing I ask them, what do you do? They say, I go every 4 hours and I do a post on Twitter, or I go and update my Facebook page. Okay, now that is not actually how you use social media. Social media is a way of convincing your customers to go and talk about the positive experience they had with you among their group of friends. That's how you're going to acquire more people to your website. Okay, if you keep on going onto Twitter and Facebook and just talking about the sales you're having and all the stuff, in a couple of weeks, you find that no one is interested in looking at your post. Okay, so if you want to do social media, make sure that you know what your objectives are. Social media, frankly speaking, is the new word of mouth. It's the best customer service platform. Okay, you got to find a way of how do you encourage someone to go and talk good about your business, or say what a positive experience or what the level of service you got. It's exactly what eBay used to do. If you buy something from eBay, and the eBay seller will come back to you after maybe 48 hours and say, listen, would you like to give a feedback? Because when you make a purchase on eBay, what are the things you look at? You look at the eBay seller, you look at what is their percentage of satisfaction, you look at their reviews, and based on that you gain confidence. That's exactly what social media is all about. Okay, the moment you start talking about your own business on social media, you lose credibility. But the moment you get other people to recommend your business on social media, that's exactly how it's going to work for you. And that's why I said, social media is great, but if you don't have the right strategy, you're wasting your time. And also you need to understand, when people are taking a buying decision, not necessary that a lot of them will be on social media. Some of the things that I would like to address in this presentation, even though I've talked about SEO, is Google Plus is getting really popular, and Google wants to be successful. Okay, the problem with Google is Google has launched a lot of services in the past, but never looked at promoting it aggressively. They came with a lot of things like, I don't know if you heard of Google Wave. It was a great product. It didn't take off. So there are a lot of different Google products which were fabulous products, but never marketed. But Google Plus is totally different. Up until Facebook came in, Google knew that there's nothing that can shake their dominance in the market. But now they're feeling the pinch from Facebook. So Google Plus is Google's answer to Facebook. And believe me, they are going out of the way to make it successful. I happened to get a couple of slides from one of the Google presentations, and it's quite interesting to see why is Google Plus important for your business. 8 months back, Google came out with an announcement and said that we're going to be tracking everyone's activity. So if you have a Google account, you log in, we will track what you look at. Now the reason why they're doing it is for them to understand your habits or what you look at. So if most of your searches are around the word Sydney, then they know that you are a business who always looking out for local services. Okay, so the thing about Google Plus is that Google Plus data is taken by Google to decide on who should see what information. So it is really important. Even though you're not a great fan of Google Plus, it's going to help you with your search engine optimization, just the way Google Places helped you to come high on Google Maps. And end of the day, it's all the information that Google has, it's going to use to provide better results. Okay, I mean, right now when you go and do a search in Google, you will see different results. You'll see results coming out of video, coming from Twitter, coming from price comparison sites, and so on. And this is amazing. Is that there's a lot of focus within Google about making Google Plus successful. So don't be surprised in the next couple of months, Google Plus will be one of the key factors when it comes to your search engine optimization process. So when you look at a search engine, or if you're looking at having an online strategy, it's a combination of a couple of things. It's just not about doing keyword research. First of all, you need to have really good content, something which will make people take the next step. Okay, it's like you have a retail store, you spend a lot of time and efforts setting up a nice window display, but if the products that you offer is not something people want, no one is going to walk in. So your SEO strategy, or you'll be only successful online if you have the right information, you present it in the right format, and make it easy for people to access it. So there's a combination of a lot of things like link building, making a website search engine friendly, looking at social sharing and all those stuff. I normally run 4 hours workshops on how to do SEO, so which again 4 hours is quite short. So you can imagine that in 60 minutes I'm literally going to do a crash course. Okay. One of the key factors about social media of SEO is that there's been a big change with Google. Google has been constantly changing their algorithm. They're making changes and all those things. But some of the fundamental things will always remain. Things like link building. Okay. Google knows that everyone will write positive things about their business. Okay. But very few people, will write negative things. So Google doesn't give importance to what you write on your website. What you write on your website is not going to please Google. What you write on a website is going to help someone take a decision. So make sure that the content on your website is not keyword stuffed. Imagine, you're on the first page of Google for a specific keyword, and someone comes to your website and your information out there is terrible. You're not going to gain anything out of it. So some of the things that you got to look at is, how do you convince Google your website is better than the other website? And this is called as off-page optimization. And a big part of off-page optimization is what we call as link building. Now, link building, there are different ways to do link building. Okay, you got to find out how do you convince someone to link to your website. If you try the old-fashioned way of approaching different websites, it's going to be extremely time-consuming. So you got to find out, how do you get someone to link to you without you taking that extra effort? The best way to do that is either give information which is good, maybe stand out of the crowd within your industry, offer them a free hand, give them some free tips, give them information that they can download, invest in a kind of a tool or application or a calculator that can help people decide stuff. Okay, provide, allow people to engage you, talk to you, run a blog. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you need to do now, and this is where your search engine optimization program, when you start doing in-house, gets a bit challenging. The problem is, you can spend a lot of time doing research on Google and all those stuff, but when it comes to off-page optimization, it takes a lot of time and effort. So unless you know exactly how to do it, and that is what, maybe 4 or 5 years back it was different. 4 or 5 years back it was all about stuffing your keywords in the right kind of places. Unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. Okay, I might just go overboard another 10 minutes with this presentation. So, if I do that, I'm sorry, but I think I've been a bit slow with what I was doing. One of the key factors today, what Google looks at, is the speed at what a website loads up. Okay, it's all about user experience for Google. Imagine, someone wants to go to your website, they're using a mobile device, and they have a terrible 3G connection. If your website takes more than 5 seconds to load up, they're more likely to hit the back button. Okay, they're not going to, they can't change their internet connection, but what they might think is maybe it's the website, and it's human nature, because you have an iPhone or an iPad, you've looked at the news site every day. That's going to load faster, but a new website normally tends to take a longer time. So Google really is, it's very important for your website to find what is your speed time. There are a couple of free tools from Google which allow you to measure your speed time. And frankly speaking, your loading speed of a website decides on two factors. It decides on how your website is coded in terms of, do you have too much of scripts running or whatever it is. And the second thing also depends upon where your website is hosted. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, hosting affecting SEO results. It's nothing to do with an SEO factor, but more to do with a user experience. If you got a website hosted on a server where there's a lot of other websites, and it's definitely going to be slow. So you got to look at the speed of your website. If your website is loading slow, you got to speak to your web designer, or you got to speak to your hosting provider, because people are impatient. How many times have you gone onto a website, waited for 5 seconds and hit the back button? So one of the key elements about your website is, when you're doing SEO, don't just think about how to go onto the first page of Google. Think about what will happen also when you're on the first page of Google, because that's equally important. It's just not getting there. It's getting there and being successful. One of the other things is that your website today is a 24/7 salesperson. So when someone goes to your website, you need to have enough information for someone to take a decision. For instance, if you know that within your industry or within your business, there are 10 questions that are being regularly asked, by your customers, make sure that's visible on your website. So, things are refund policies, or, why they should consider you, what happens if you want to terminate a contract. So the most common questions need to be there. There's a need now to have what we call as a knowledge base on your website, because that is one way of telling customers that you know your business well, one way of telling customers that you've been there for a long time, you understand what their concerns are, and you actually are addressing them. So if you do not have a Q&A or a knowledge base on your website, it's high time you have it, because it'll save a lot of things. Someone buys a product from you, they don't know how to use your website, they don't know how to use the product. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to your website and search for help. We do that within our business. The amount of domains and hosting we sell, the most common question we get from people is, how do I set up my emails on an iPhone? Okay, we sell a lot of hosting, and you'll be surprised the amount of calls that we get. So what we did is, we literally, on our knowledge center, we have set up videos how to set up your iPhone, how to set up your iPad, how to set up your Android phone, how to set up Outlook, and it has drastically reduced the number of calls, better user experience. Okay, you have to understand that you could have customers going to your website at 10 in the night. They cannot call you. But if they don't get the answer and they want to take a decision right away, then it's not your website. They're going to go to somewhere else where they can find their information and they're made feel comfortable. So when you look at a website, one of the key elements is usability. Now, there are very few companies in the market that, when you go to any online marketing company, most of them talk about is SEO, AdWords, and social media. Okay, what they don't offer, a lot of people are not offering, is what we call as website usability, or what we call as conversion rate optimization. Okay, you need to make sure that you are converting. It's no point having a lot of traffic if you don't convert. Okay, and I personally feel that there's that kind of a service that is lacking in the industry right now, in the market, where someone can look at your website and say, these are the things that you got to fix. It's not about getting more people to your website. For instance, if you're getting 100 people to your website every week and 2 people are buying from you, okay, if you want to get 4 people to buy from you, you can imagine that you'll have to double your effort in terms of the traffic you get to your website. So moving from 100 unique visitors to 200 unique visitors, it's not a simple task. But if you look at your website, you got to look at how can you can change your conversion rate from 2% to 4%. And that's a much better solution, because then moving forward, it'll only keep on going high. Have a look at, how user-friendly a website is. One of the things I actually tell a lot of businesses is that if you have a website, you're so used to looking at a website, get someone else to do it. Maybe, walk to your neighbor's house and say, hey, can you go to this website and try to buy a product and see how do people struggle? Because sometimes you assume things. It happens at every business. It happens in our business where our marketing team might assume that a customer is going to take that step, but not necessary. Okay, so it's really important to look at user experience. You need to have those user testing done on your website to find where people drop off. A lot of times when I speak to people and say, where do I find this information? Oh, they're saying it's quite simple. It's there on my website. Go to this sub menu and go to that page. You'll find all that information out there. Now, the only reason I was shown to that page because that person was on the phone. Imagine your customers going to your website and they can't find that information. They're not going to take all that pain to get that information. Okay. Some of the other things to look at is your website credible enough? If you're into business, okay, you're competing with a lot of other businesses. How do you make your website genuine and credible? Have an SSL certificate if you have an e-commerce store. Display your ABN number if you have a valid ABN number. Let people contact you. Give them a telephone number they can reach out to. I'm pretty sure, I'm not saying something new. It's always been there. I think it's the way you look at it and see how it does affect your business. One of the things about Google is, it's an amazing company because they don't really tell you what they're doing, but then they keep doing things, So what Google has been doing of late or always is that they keep changing the algorithm. So what works today will definitely not work, in 6 or 8 months time. They will fine tune it. And you'll be surprised that last year Google had around 1,600 updates to the algorithm. Some of them are small changes, some of them are big changes. Like last year the big change was the Panda update. This year it's been the Penguin update. So what they have done is that they have looked at factors, and this is their way to fine tune and maintain the credibility of the websites that come up on search results. So a lot of businesses have been affected. A lot of the latest release with Google's website, if you see, this is what has happened, with the new update. Okay, Google has stopped giving importance to low quality links. Okay, the moment it finds over optimized anchor text, it says, that's not good. Okay, a lot of websites in the US got badly affected in April this year when Google launched the Penguin update. A lot of websites that sell flowers online in the US got badly affected because they had a lot of backlinks coming to their website. Even large brands like JCPenney and so on literally got wiped out from search results, mainly because of the kind of stuff they did. And that's the problem with search engine optimization. There's so much of information on the web. Some of them are good advice, some of them are bad advice. So one of the biggest challenges of doing search engine optimization as in the own is to find out what's the right thing to do, because you'll only come to know once you get affected. So if you look at the last two updates, you had the Panda update and you had the Penguin update. So Google, they have looked at a couple of things and say, okay, if you're doing keyword stuffing, we're going to knock you off. If you over-optimize your anchor text, we don't like it. If you got a lot of low quality links, you're not in the right place and you don't have the right community backing you up. So it looked at a lot of things, and it made a lot of changes. So what has happened is a lot of businesses, a lot of websites lost their ranking. But the people who have done the right thing or have done the actual way, it didn't really affect them so much. So what happened last year was really huge in terms of the effect compared to this year. And the way to find out whether you're affected or not is to look at your analytics. It will tell you exactly what it is. So if you really want to know what Google likes today, it's all about being original. It's all about having information about what needs to be done, and so on. So there's a lot of, you can go onto Google and try to read about the new Google updates and so on. End of the day, it's about information. Google is there just to drive people to your website. So don't just worry about Google. Think about, are you giving a solution to customers? do they understand what it is? Don't go about doing your SEO. Okay, so whatever you do in terms of optimization, that's what you got to look at is, do you have the right content? Are you targeting the right kind of people? I think the final question is, should I outsource SEO? Now, the problem with search engine optimization is that I keep telling to people that if you want to do SEO on your own, you can do it. It's not rocket science, but you need to spend at least 30 hours of your time every month doing SEO. So how much is 30 hours of your time worth? The reason why you have to spend 30 hours is mainly because you'll spend almost 25 hours spending time on the internet, reading blogs, reading forums to find out what works, what doesn't work. Okay, there are very few people in the industry or locally out here who will give you nice free advice. Okay, you look at most companies that sell SEO or AdWords. I think the most common thing in this industry is people offer you what you call as a free site review, which is nothing but a 1-minute advice followed by a sales pitch coming the next minute. Okay, so the problem with search engine optimization is you have to do research. Now, it's worthwhile doing all that research if you're looking after if you have 5 or 10 websites. But imagine doing that research, for one single website. And it's not a one-off thing. It's a monthly thing that you need to do. The second thing is making those changes. So you got to look at all those factors, and then you got to ask yourself, is it worthwhile my time? If you feel you have the time and you're passionate about online marketing, you can definitely do it. But it's an ongoing process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's just like I keep telling people, search engine optimization, it's just like going to the gym. Okay, the moment you stop going to the gym, you're going to lose whatever toning you've done for your body. And it has to be motivation. Even if you go with an SEO company yourself, you need to at least understand what the SEO company is doing it. Don't go by the false promises that you get. It's all about saying, okay, are you all working towards a common objective? Does the SEO company understand what your objectives are? Do they understand what market you're into? What is the process? And so on. Which basically brings me to my last slide. I've tried to keep it as non-technical as possible. There's a lot of things happening on SEO. I'm not saying I'm an expert in SEO, but I spend enough time to at least understand what works and what might work. Because when Google does any changes, they don't come out in the open and tell us what changes have happened. It's all about the amount of time we put in as a group to share information and share our experience with what works, what doesn't work. Okay, if you need a copy of your presentation, okay, shoot me an email. I'll send you a copy of my presentation. If you have a website and if you just need some kind of basic advice, or you need some kind of guidance, feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to give you a bit of a one-to-one consultation on what you should do on your website. Okay, but having said that, it's great to do SEO on your own, provided you know what exactly you're doing. Thank you very much for your time. I hope all this made sense, and I hope I didn't confuse you all. And as I said, if you want a copy of the presentation, just shoot me an email. I'll send across to you. Thank you very much, and hope to speak to you all again.